What's up, guys? Welcome back to Fringe Fitness Reviews. In today's video, we're going to be looking at a really cool product, the Isotib by HGG Fitness. This is going to be a unilateral tib bar. We're going to go over the specs, pros and cons, some different uses of this product, and I'll let you know how you can get your hands on one. All right, guys, without any further ado, let's get into our Fringe Fitness review of the HGG Isotib. First, we'll look at the basic specs of this product. When you order an Isotib, they're going to give you a clip to go with it. You're going to need a clip, but then the standard weights are going to fit on your Isotib bar. That's one of the things that's special about this type of equipment is that you can use progressive overload for your tib training, for your ankle training, as opposed to using a rubber band where it's really hard to tell when you're making progress. With these, you can add weight, you can measure your progress that way, and it's really going to help you break through plateaus when it comes to your ankle training. Really cool thing about this Isotib is going to be this big bolt or nut here. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to adjust the width of the apparatus. So my feet are pretty wide. I can go loose, and you guys can see that I can easily fit my foot into this machine. And I can also tighten it on there to adjust. And I've gotten this way tighter for athletes with much smaller feet, and you're going to be able to get a nice secure fit on your foot because this makes it easily adjustable. So I really like that feature, the fact that you can tighten it or loosen it depending on how big your foot is. And it's really just comfortable. Once you guys get this on, it's going to feel secure, locked on the foot, and you're going to be able to do a bunch of ankle training. All right, guys, let's get into the gym and talk about some of the functions with this HGG Isotib. All right, guys, the first thing we're going to talk about doing with the Isotib is really the primary function. It's what it was designed for. That is training our tibs. All right, so this is really great exercise for ankle health, training that tib muscle, the front of your shin. I'm going to get right into this and show you why this is such a great option for people that are trying to strengthen their ankles and really why they designed this in the first place. So I've got a 10-pound bumper plate on here, and I'm going to put it around my foot. And this, right off the bat, this is the primary function of this piece of equipment. All right, just to straight up work the front side of your shin and work that ankle through a full range of motion. Now, this has really become popular lately because people are seeing that training the tib gives you a little bit more carryover into athletic movement than training the back of the calves. And historically, it's been a difficult thing to do. So pieces of equipment like this have made it really easy. Now, the first piece of equipment for the tibs was just a double tib bar. So both feet worked together. This is now, the special thing about this is that we can do it with one foot at a time. All right. Now, that opens the door to a lot more different ranges of motion, which I really like, especially when you're rehabbing someone who's dealing with some ankle pain. So we can do some circular movement, and now you see I'm challenging my ankle in totally different planes of motion than I would be able to do if I had the double foot straight up and down version. I like anything rotational and circular, so now this is becoming a rotational movement with the ankle, which is really going to speed things up and just help me get back into a full function when it comes to like an ankle injury. And the other really cool thing I like about this is we can sort of change the direction or the angle of the resistance. So now I can let that ankle fall and I can work on straight lateral flexion through that ankle. I can flip over and do it the other direction too. But what I want you guys to really understand with this piece of equipment is that there's nothing you can't do in terms of ankle strengthening. And if you work with someone who's got chronic ankle injuries or issues, there's a lot of things you can do for ankle mobility. When it comes to strengthening the ankle, most of the exercises that are done traditionally are going to strengthen the back of the calf, and we tend to leave that tib out, and it can be really important, and there can be a lot of carryover there. So that's the base function of this machine, is just lower leg strengthening, tib work. And what I love about it, the fact that it's unilateral, allows us to do rotational movements, and it allows us to work that inversion, eversion, side-to-side stuff with your ankle that you just can't do with the standard double-footed tib bar. So when it comes to training your ankles and strengthening your ankles, I think this is a no-brainer. This is an awesome piece of equipment. especially in comparison to that classic two-footed tib bar. Next, I want to talk about some alternative uses for this product, because I know you might be thinking, gosh, the tib, that's such a tiny muscle. Do I really want to invest in a piece of equipment that's just meant to train the front side of my ankle? But I think you guys will see this product actually is going to open the door for a lot of different movement patterns, and it's really going to help you strengthen the opposite side of your body in a couple different situations. So let's talk about that. One thing that I like to use this for is hip flexor strengthening work. All right, so this really simple march drill. And you can see I'm standing on a box here. I'm just doing that so that I can get into a really good range of motion with that hip flexor. I can go all the way down, bring it all the way up. I can even turn it into a little bit of a swinging movement. And a couple things here. Number one, you're going to be forced into that dorsiflex position, so your ankle is going to be flexed the whole time. I actually really like that. I like turning that tib on in an isometric fashion. This is great for sort of a warm-up activation drill, or anyone who's having hip flexor issues. The other thing I really like about this is that traditionally I would do these marching drills with a band, with an elastic band. And the reason that I like this as an alternative to the band is that the band is going to give you a lot of tension at the top when it's all stretched out, but when you get down to the bottom, a lot of times you lose that tension. This is just going to hit a little bit differently because it's going to be consistent tension the whole way through. And especially at the bottom, when our hip flexor is in that long position, we're going to feel that resistance, we're going to feel that weight, and that's going to help us get that hip flexor strong in the long position. All right, so that starting strength through the hip flexor, which is really going to be important. We talk about people that are dealing with issues there. Oftentimes the hip flexor is tight, or once it gets long, it loses all of its strength. So this Isotib is also a great tool for hip flexor strengthening. And that's something that I think a lot of coaches don't do enough of, and it really can help your athletes stay injury-free and athletic. All right, guys, next I'm going to show you a special Landmine University exercise that you can do with the Isotib. This is actually my favorite use for this piece of equipment. It's a little bit outside the box, but we're going to use the Landmine University principles to get every muscle in our body working together. And this is a great muscle building drill, conditioning drill, or just a great warm-up. You can also use it for a finisher if you go long duration. So let's get into this. I love this exercise. And what we're essentially going to be doing is teaching our body how to use our lat and hip flexor together. So as we use that lat, as we dip that shoulder down and back, that hip flexor is going to come together, and we're going to use our entire body to move this weight a really long distance, and that's what I like about this. So you see I've got a box set up, and getting into position here is going to be the hardest part. If you have a TRX or an adjustable strap, that's going to be a really easy way to do this. But then you're also going to want a box higher than knee height, and then that bar to pull on, and you should be able to rig this up or set this up. So you can see in my starting position, I've got my left foot hooked in, and I've got to stretch through that left lat and left hip flexor. I'm going to do that one arm pull up. I'm going to add that hip flexion, and now at the top, I'm pulling with the left lat, I'm lifting with the left hip flexor, and that whole left side of my body is staying tight, staying coiled. So now it's long, and then it's short. And this is sort of ultimate long side, short side training, where I'm getting a lot of use out of my lat, oblique, and now straight resistance to my hip flexor, which is going to make this an even better movement. You don't have to do very many to start feeling every single thing on that side of your body, learning how to work together, coil up, and get you moving really efficiently. So that's just another example of a really cool exercise you can do with this Isotib. There's a bunch of uses for this. I just wanted to show you a few of my favorite. And of course, it stands alone as a tib trainer, as absolutely the best version of that. All right, guys, that's it for this Fringe Fitness review on the HGG Isotib. You guys want to get your hands on one of these? I've got a link in the description. I've also got a code for 10% off, and that's going to work on their entire catalog of products. These guys have some really cool stuff. They've got a Nordic bar. They've got the two-footed version of the tib bar. They've got a really cool landmine that I'm going to be reviewing later. And I also noticed that they actually have a new version of the Isotib, so they've improved this design as well. The original one is selling for about $160 price point, but that new version looks like it's around $100, so you can get it a little bit cheaper. And like I said, guys, use that code in the description, and it's going to give you an initial 10% off. All right, guys, that's it for this episode of Fringe Fitness Reviews. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time at Landmine University.